So thank you, Mark, for joining us. Very excited to have you here, and excited to talk about fouls and all that stuff. But like I said in the email before we get going, I'm going to start with we start with a little Ask Me Anything, just a way for us to kind of get to know you. You get to know us and our voices a little bit. Um, and so I always started off with some softball questions. But
Appreciate that.
yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your officiating journey, kind of years, officiating levels you've done, white hat and all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started in 2012. That was my first year. I got introduced to it. I was at an SDSU alumni event talking to someone about football, wanted to get back involved, mentioned coaching, and he's no longer an official. In fact, he wasn't even then. He was a past official. I'll come up with his name in a minute. But he had said, hey, you should try officiating. It takes a lot less time than coaching. It's fun. If you like the game, you'll love it. So I found the association, sent an email, and got a response back from some guy named Tom Abel saying, "Hey, our first meeting's in July. Come on out." And so I showed up at the first meeting, not having met anybody. First person I met was Bob Smith because he was the treasurer. I gave him a check, and away I went. First year, just worked, like everyone else, Pop Warner. Maybe got one freshman game that first year potentially, but just had a blast, loved it. So came back. Um, Started uh, college in 2016. So after 4 years, my 4 or 5 years, the high school level, joined the junior college class, got a few games filling in that first year, and then was on a crew in 2017. Became a high school crew chief in 2019. Really enjoyed that. That to this day, I think my favorite position, my favorite thing to do is work referee, high school football referee. I just love that. And then
Hmm.
let's see. So college started in 2016, junior college. 2018, Ted Chess was working high school game and rolled his ankle, and so they needed someone in the Sky Act the next day for a back judge position. I got called and sent up to my first Division 3 game in 2018. Just that one game that season, but it went well enough that I got invited back in 2019. Worked a half season in 2019 and got hired in 2020, although there was no season. So it
Mm.
was been working Division 3, kind of full time, I guess, since 2020. Um, and then 2 years ago, got an opportunity to work for Coach Crowley. He's a supervisor for a Division 2 conference, and he hired me to work center judge in what's called the SWCFO uh, Division 2 conference, the Lone Star, the Senior Conference. So worked center judge for him the last 2 years, this year and last year. And then also at the same time, I got an opportunity to work a couple of practices in Utah Tech in Southern Utah for Matt Young, who runs the UAC, formerly the WAC and the um, Atlantic Sun Conference kind of merged. They're now called the UAC, and I guess did well enough at a couple of practices there that I got a developmental list for him and worked 3 games for him last season, and just did my first and only for him this year as well. So got a chance to do a couple of Division 1 games last year and this year, and just blessed to do it. Just absolutely love traveling for football. The downside is I haven't done as much high school this year and last year because of it, and I do miss it a lot. But that's the journey. That's where I'm at from 2012 to now. Working a number of different positions. I worked back judge most of my high school career till working referee, and then in college mostly been a back judge, and then center judge in Division 2, but still work back judge in Division 1 and 3. So
Okay,
kind of all over there as well.
cool. That's quite the journey. Very
Hmm.
cool. Definitely like take advantage of your opportunities. Um,
Yeah,
so
it's
you mentioned that one of your favorite positions was high school crew chief, referee. So all of us are hoping to get drafted next year. So what is it when you were in that position? What is it that you were looking for people that you had join your crew?
yeah. So it sort of changed from year to year. When I first started in 2019, my first year as a referee, what I was looking for more than anything else was just experience. At that time was concerned about screwing up the referee position. So I wanted to find guys at every other position, guys and gals who knew what they were doing for the most part. I didn't quite feel I was ready to develop officials because I was worried about
Yeah.
myself, if you will. So that first
Mhm.
year, I drafted a lot of guys who I knew had been doing it for a long time. But then by my last season, last year, 2023, I was to the point where I was confident, I made it a goal in the preseason to make sure I drafted someone out of the second year class, and I did that.
Mhm.
And so it shifted from year to year on what I was looking for. But I would say every year, one thing I personally look for is I want guys that are and gals who are enjoyable to work with. I want other officials who I can after the game go out and head to the Longhorn or OGs or
Mhm.
bullies, whatever, and have a good time. And that was important to me. I like but even not just the post game part of it, but just throughout the season, you're working with someone for long enough. You want to be able to get along with them. So you're looking for officials with the right attitudes who are doing it for the right reasons, enjoy doing it, can laugh at our mistakes, but also learn from them. So I always kind of took an approach of business when it needs to be business and fun when it should be fun. And so I guess I was looking for officials who were capable of that same balance.
Got it.
Mhm.
So from that, was it, clearly you had to know the people before you drafted them. You were thinking they're going to fit into. Was it people you'd worked with?
So
Or
yes and no.
okay,
I feel like you spend enough time in the association, most of the association, but there's always somebody you're not certain of. So you do kind of
yeah,
rely on other referees. Like, hey, has anyone
okay,
worked with this person? What do you think of them?
got it.
And so it is. You rely on some others.
Okay.
So sometimes you're taking someone because you've worked with them and you know what to expect from them, and other times you're taking a little bit of a chance. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's the right term, but
Yeah,
you're picking someone who haven't worked with in the past, but you hear good things from other officials, and uh, you trust their judgment. So
cool. Very cool. Um, and my last question. So most of us are second years, or we're second years of a sort. Even if we took a break in between. What is it? The one thing. What's the one thing you think we should be focusing on from a development standpoint? Kind of getting drafted aside. What from our development? What do you think is the most important?
it's probably a tired answer. You probably heard it from most people you've asked it to, but I would say mechanics.
Okay.
I really think I've heard it said from officials. You guys probably heard it from Tim in your first year. You guys had Tim Pedraza last year. Was this
Mhm.
Yeah.
huge your first year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
great officials have great mechanics, right? And it's
Hmm.
um, you know if you have the fundamentals down, the rest falls into place. I mean, some of it just takes time, right? And there's no substitute for snaps, but I just think if you focus on the stuff you can control, and that largely is the mechanics, the stuff you can't control, you'll figure out, and some of it you'll get right, and some of it you won't, but you'll learn from it. Uh, but I think if you have solid mechanics, it'll take you far
Okay.
and make your life easier on the field too.
Yeah. All right.
Right.
Open it up to the rest of the group. Anybody have a question for Mark?
I do.
Of course. Thanks, Blake.
Okay, Mark. Malik, we're like a sponge in this class. We're thankful that you're here sharing your experience, strength, and hope. And my question to you, because Katie did ask a couple of them that I already wanted to ask, but one is when you were moving up the ranks, who is your biggest influence or mentor for you?
So I'm fortunate. I met a few folks in 2012 who moved up ahead of me, that I got to work some high school ball with, and then they moved up, and so I had a few individuals. One that maybe the biggest influence or mentor for me was actually Bill Bishop. He was one of the first officials I met, um, day one at that first year, for me, for first meeting, and he moved up rather quickly, and we became close friends. So he's a very close personal friend of mine. And then so I got to, bend his ear a lot, and kind of learn from him and his experiences moving up. But other guys, who really guys who even worked at the same level as me at the same time, like Tony Sands, another good friend of mine, but just someone I think just takes such a professional approach to this, when he was working. I learned a lot from him, even when he was at the same level for me. Um, and we have a outstanding college class. You guys, I'm sure at some point we'll get into that college class, and you'll see the number of Division One and two and three officials in that room, and all of them are guys I can give credit to. From Steve Hoslett is somebody who for whatever reason kind of took me under his wing, and I owe him a lot in terms of my development, and any success I've had is because of him and a lot of other officials who one great thing about San Diego everyone wants to see everyone succeed. And you don't, if you talk to other officials from around the country, you don't always hear that. And so we're pretty blessed to have that. So I'm going to leave off a ton of names. I'm sure Jace Carlson is another official who's 8 years younger than me, but I consider a mentor of mine. I learned a ton from him. He's just a constant professional. He takes this extremely serious. He does extremely well at it. And I feel like I learned a lot from him. Chris Wiggins, I was fortunate enough to work with when he was still working some high school ball, and he's another guy who just his approach to the game is different, and he's just incredibly prepared, and I mean, just has this situational awareness that I think is almost hard to learn. It's just something he has that I don't. But there's just other guys, and guys like Dave on this call, frankly, other high school crew chiefs who. I can still call when I have a funky play or a situation that, hey, this went poorly in my game. How can I handle it differently next time? And there's a lot of those who aren't working college ball who or guys. Robin House is someone I called quite a bit my first year as a referee, or he was eager to help me out when even from day one of the draft, my first year as a crew chief, kind of gave me some strategy and tips. So Craig Gustafson is someone who, when I was working Pop Warner, I just happened to get assigned with him a lot. I learned a lot from him on the Pop Warner field when I was, second and third year official working referee for the first time at Pop Warner. So there's a lot of guys, and I'm sure I'm leaving out names, but those are some of them.
That was good. Thank you. As far as I know you mentioned how you really love doing the referee position, but you mentioned back judge. With that position, I want to get more reps at that when time, allows it. But when you're back there for you, how are you seeing the field? I mean, I know that we have our mechanics and all that, but what are you really focused on when you're out there?
So when I played the game in the league, and I know it's hard to believe I'm not big in stature, but I did play some high school football, and I was a cornerback. So I liked back judge because it was the same position I played, similar in view, if you will. Because I played some corner and a little bit of safety. So that was number one. Is it just felt more natural to me. I think that's true of a lot of guys. Like I know some guys who played linebacker and like working umpire, and it's kind of similar, right? So. But I guess it does change quite a bit, right? When you're working the line and you've got, kind of a 90-degree view of the field versus back judge where things are, you're parallel with the action. It is different, but I personally like that view. I guess it's just learning. I know you mentioned you got the mechanics made on. I'm trying not to just answer with that, but in terms of the view, it's figuring out, transitions and learning to look sort of inside out at times, and sometimes behind the play and behind the runner, as opposed to when you're working the flank and you're really focusing on progress and the runner and some action right in front of it. So.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just you mentioning that about cornerback. I played corner, so that's why in high school. So now when you mentioned it,
so you might like it back there. You'll find the view looks more familiar than the line of scrimmage, right?
Right. All right, thank you.
Yeah. I will say this real fast. I believe our best officials are our line of scrimmage officials. I think there's a reason we started one on the line of scrimmage. If you could do that, you can do anything. I've never been one to try and tout and say the back judges. I truly believe that our best officials are our line of scrimmage officials. I don't want to work the position. There's so much going on. We ask so much of our line officials. The line of scrimmage officials who do it extremely well, in my opinion, are our best officials. I think of guys like Zach Marble, Jake Whitler, who I work with in Division II, like the guys who do it well on the line, I'm the most impressed with. So I guess I say that to say not everyone should just be jumping to let me work some back judge. That's the route to referee or otherwise. Like if you can become a great line of scrimmage official, you're valuable. I just think that's the hardest position to be good at. And the guys who are really good at it, I have a lot of admiration for.
Yeah, I've heard that. Thank you.
Hey, Mark, I got a question for you. This is Mohammed.
Go ahead, Mohammed.
Hey, Mohammed, fire away.
Hey, my question's regarding basically scouting your upcoming teams. What do you do in preparation for your upcoming games, as far as watching film and writing reports and preparations?
Yeah, so you could probably find a number of templates out there, and if you don't have one, Mohammed, I could probably send you one. So if you can find film, that's obviously the best thing to do, right? To figure out tendencies and that kind of thing. Absent that, if you can find some stats, you can at least kind of figure out from the stat sheet who are the go-to players. So tendencies in terms of, does this team pass more often or run more often? When they are passing, who's their go-to receiver? If they have a workhorse, it becomes clear when you look at, total yards and that kind of stuff. But beyond that, things like formations. So we can discuss keys in the pregame. Hey, they run these formations. Do they run something like a swinging gate? If they do, let's discuss it. And even absent some kind of a formation that's tricky, if you will, like a swinging gate, just standard formations. I like to know on punts, what are the numbering exceptions, right? So most teams will have that. So if we know in the pregame, when they come out for punt, these are eligibles, these are ineligibles, given assuming they do everything the way they normally do, we have a heads up there, right? We're not figuring it out on the first punt. And absent scouting, you can also look at that stuff in pregame. But if you're going to scout, that's a useful thing to have is punt formations, field goal formations, who are eligibles, who are ineligibles. I always like to know the coaches' names. Beforehand, I introduce myself to the head coach every game, no matter what position I'm working, both head coaches. I'm not looking for long conversation, but I like to have a name and just to say, hey, coach, I'm Mark. I'll be your back judge today. I'll be your center judge today. Have a great game. I'm really not looking to expand it beyond that. Sometimes I'll offer up some pleasantries and I'll exchange, but just want to make sure I at least shake their hand and say hello and introduce myself. One thing that's kind of fun now that I'm working some games outside of California is I like to go through the rosters and look for some players from California. So I was in Kentucky 2 weeks ago, and they had a guard who played high school football at Del Norte. And so I went up to him in the pregame and I said, hey, I understand you're from Del Norte High School. And he's like, yeah. And I said, I'm from San Diego. Who knows, may have been one of your high school games. And just kind of fun to connect with the guys. We're two California boys in Kentucky. So that's something I like to do when you're working, maybe a college game, junior college, and you see, who's on the roster from San Diego High School, right? So that's kind of fun sometimes. Not an important piece of scouting, but sometimes something fun to do.
Yeah, that's real neat. If you can send us over that copy of basically like a scouting report template, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I think Katie can share that to the group.
I'm sure I've got a couple of different versions I can send you. So if I don't send it to you, Katie, by tomorrow afternoon, just shoot me an email, remind me.
Okay.
I'll make sure I get it to you.
Yeah, sounds good. And then I will make sure I get it out to everybody.
Okay.
Cool.
And then keep in mind, it's one of them at least, and maybe both, are fairly in depth, and probably for some of the high school stuff, you could amend it and remove some of it. But I'll definitely send it over.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the great things through all these conversations, we're getting little templates or little ideas about stuff, and it's just a great, we're collecting a nice little group of materials for us to be able to use as we go through our officiating career. It's been helpful.
Sure.
Yeah. Other questions folks have?
I have one question for you, Mark. This is Jeff Bauer. Just more along the lines of what year did the game really kind of start slowing down for you? Especially as second year officials, we always have high standards, and I'm like,
yeah,
I still have some challenges and frustrations where I'm like, somebody will say, it's like, hey, did you see this block? And I'm like, no, I didn't see that block at all. And they're like, oh, it was a crack back. It went back there. But anyway, at what point did you really feel that you were starting to see everything?
Yeah. So Jeff, I would tell you there's multiple times in my career that happened. There was these inflection points, and one that stands out to me was year 4 for me. Year 3, first year on the crew working varsity, the game was still pretty fast for me. And I just remember year 4 feeling a lot more confident than I was in year 3. And it just comes from snaps. And then I think maybe year 6 or 7 was another one where just you get to a point where you're certain things are slower, but you're also more aware. You're adding stuff to your pre-snap, and then sort of you move to a new position. So 2019, I sort of feel like the game was still had slowed down since my 3rd year, but now at a new position, there's other things that were I wasn't great at. Plays like pass fumbles kind of scared me, and getting good at intentional grounding, remembering you have to kind of remember where the quarterback threw the ball from in case we have a flag here, and just certain things all of a sudden are now not in your regular routine that you got to get into your regular routine. So changing positions to change some. But I would say the one I remember for sure is year 4. and then maybe year 6 or 7, there was another like kind of level of like extra confidence, if you will. And it still happens. I mean, this year I would say I feel better this year than I did last year. So there's some of it that's just slowly every year, but there are certain years you just sort of feel like, okay, I've passed a certain checkpoint, if you will, but now I'm adding new stuff and becoming more situationally aware. And so while some of the fundamentals slow down for you, then you start adding kind of some second level stuff. And there's points, inflection points for sure, or at least there were for me. But you feel a little better every year, a little more confident. Things slow down, but there were certainly years. And I think the first one I really remember was year 4. That second year on a crew, I felt a lot better than my first year.
Yeah, no, great. No, thanks for that answer. It definitely, kind of reassuring, just for myself, like, especially, on the runs and seeing the zone 1 and zone 4 coverage, I think I see that better. And I'm seeing the holds that are going on and so on, or that could potentially be going on. I'm seeing, my initial responsibilities a lot more clear. But again, in fact, just even yesterday, there was one came up in the umpire was like, Jeff, did you see that crackback block? And I said, no, I did not see that at all. He's like, you need to see those things. I mean, he had thrown on it, but he was just asking if I saw it. And I'm like, no, I didn't see it. So anyway,
So then the question to ask yourself when you go back, look at film was, why didn't I see it, right? What was I looking at? Or, where was my focus, and figuring that out. I will also add, Jeff, I think, for me it was year 4, but I wasn't doing this stuff that you guys are doing, where the extra film study, the extra group study. And I wish I had. So for me, it was kind of year 4 was that first point. But if you guys are watching enough film and getting enough snaps, and for you, it could be, year 2 or 3. So the only way to slow the game down, to get better, to recognize more situations, to see more funky plays, number 1 is snaps, and there's just no substitute for that. But then number 2, film can help, and film is definitely second to live snaps. But it's in my opinion a distant second. If you can get live snaps, that's the only way to really get better at this. But that doesn't mean you should avoid film. The more of that you can get, the better. And then when you're watching on TV, then shadow like finger officiate the play and count players and practice your pre-snap. There are things you can do. None of them as good as actually working a game, but you can speed up how fast the game slows down for you by doing those things. You guys
Hey, Jeff, if I can follow up on that same question. Mark, you said your 4th year, but what specifically did you think you were doing different on the field that made that transition?
Yeah, two things, I think. One was I was better at recognizing vision patterns, like where I should be looking. So just getting away from just panicking about generally like, being in the way or just, being in the right position, but actually looking where I should be looking. And then number 2 is my own personal speed and which I was moving more purposely. I slowed down personally as well. I was still moving way too fast in year 4, but a lot slower than I was in year 1 and 2 and even 3. So I think a noticeable difference for me on how fast I was moving and how often I was moving and moving more purposely. But then secondly was seeing more in the play and recognizing, I should be looking here and not, and frankly, getting away from ball watching. Cause that was for me year 1 and 2, and I'm sure for most of us, but I was definitely guilty of ball watching.
I find that is one of my problems is I have to leave that in my peripheral and worry about the zone more than the ball.
You've got to be deliberate about it. Yeah. It's not an easy habit to break. We spend our entire, lives watching football on TV, just following that ball. And so it was a hard habit for me to break, but that was one of the things, I got better at, was just getting away from the ball and finding something to officiate.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Mark. Brady Smith here. As a white hat on the high school football field, what are some of your biggest pet peeves when it comes to working with other officials? What grinds your gears, so to say?
Okay. I guess number 1 is lack of communication. Probably the same thing that coaches complain about, right? Because for those of you who've already worked some referee and maybe in Pop Warner, or maybe who knows, maybe some even a JV game or something. you know that when you're working referee, there's a lot you don't know about what's going on down the field. And so I guess, one of my, I don't know if it's a pet peeve, but like one of my chief asks as a referee to my crew, and especially like my umpire, is like, let me know the results of the play every play. I want to know, hey, incomplete pass, completed pass, interception, just needing information really. So my biggest pet peeve is not getting that, because it is hard to, officiate without all the information, and you don't have it at referee without someone communicating it to you. So I guess that's the one thing that comes to mind. Absent that, I think going back to kind of what I was looking for in officials for a draft is just poor attitude, right? I mean, the one thing that will upset me in a hurry is if your attitude's wrong, right? I mean, this is a difficult game. You got to be humble. You got to be willing to learn. You got to be willing to work as a team. So if you're someone who's going to throw other officials under the bus, or not be willing to take criticism and that kind of thing, that would be another thing that would upset me. And then last thing, something that's pretty easy, is just like responding to emails and being on time. That kind of stuff is a low hanging fruit, right? So
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's nice to know before the game that everyone I'm supposed to be working with is gonna, is aware they're working that game, has responded, yep, got your email, I'll be there on time. Just a little piece of mind before the game starts, not wondering, hey, is that person coming? I didn't see a response. Should I call Tom?
Yeah.
Right, other
What
questions?
else?
Mark, this is Louis Rivera. I got a off-topic question here. Who's going to win the NLDS, the Dodgers or the Padres? It's an important question in this group.
Oh, no.
It is an important question. I think my
You're wearing
answer.
the right shirt. Yeah, you're wearing the right shirt also. But
yeah. Do you want my answer or my wife's answer? They're different.
Yeah, I'm sure the group split too. But subsequent to that question, what's some of the things you do in the off season to prepare for the upcoming referee season, football season?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of the off season I spend rule study. One fortunate thing about college football is you do have some opportunities to work some football in the spring. There's some practices so you can get some snaps. Hard to do that for high school, unfortunately. But if you get a chance to do a camp or clinic, highly recommend that. But a lot of rule study, we do a study group. We've got a group of officials that we've had a group, that who's in the group kind of changes slightly from year to year sometimes, or even just week to week. But there's kind of a core group of us who get together almost weekly, starting in about March, to do some rule study. So a lot of the conferences put out preseason rules exams, and we'll go through those. And actually, if you've had someone on already who's talked about sort of our study groups and how we attack a rules exam.
No.
Okay.
No.
So I'm gonna give you guys some nuggets here that I think actually relates to kind of the topic of foul reporting as well. One thing we started doing 3 or 4 years ago that's incredibly helpful is when we do a rules exam, we'll sort of rotate around the room. If we're together now, it's all Zoom, so we'll rotate around the Zoom. So what'll happen is, like, all right, question 1, I'm going to take that, and so I'm going to read the question, I'm going to answer the question, I'm going to answer it, and then when I answer, I'm going to report to Dave, for example. So, all right, Dave, here's the answer, and I'm going to report to you as the referee, and so I'll have to practice my reporting. So if this is the way the play happened, and I'm the calling official, how am I reporting that to Dave? And then after I've done that, now Dave is going to make an announcement to the group. So he gets to practice his announcement. And then we rotate. So the next question, Dave's now going to answer the next question. He's going to report to Malik, and then Malik's going to make an announcement. And so every question, we're all doing the questions together. And so, if the answer is incorrect, we'll speak up. Hey, I got something different, right? Okay, let's make sure the answer correct first and foremost. Once we've got that hammered out, okay, now make report to the referee. Go ahead and give it as you would on the field, or as you'd like to give it on the field, right? And then have the referee give an announcement. So I do encourage you, if you're doing some rules exams, try that out. Try having one person answer and report, and then the next person announce. And some of the questions, they're quizzing things that aren't really rules, or maybe they're quizzing mechanics or something else. There's not a great announcement, but for the most part, you'll find that's a really worthwhile activity. And it's helped me with my reporting, and frankly with my announcements as well. So.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
very good. Yeah.
Get ready,
I'm
guys.
sure Katie's going to set that up for sure.
Yep,
Mhm.
take lots of notes.
We're in trouble now. That's good.
All right. Any other questions before we get to the topic? All right.
I guess last part of that last answer, I guess, is film as well, right? That's maybe a given, but always good to go back and watch some of your games or just football on TV even, but film where you can and getting some football in. But I'd say off season a lot of study and a lot of clinics where I can.
That actually, you mentioned clinics. Is there clinics that you would recommend for officials at our level?
I'm trying to, Dave, does anything come to mind for high school? They're not in California, unfortunately. So there used to be a clinic in Fresno that I went to in 2013, and that was the last year they held it because California said no more tackle football in the summer. There are some, I want to say there's one in Colorado. Dave, do you know of any?
I think Tate in Utah is pretty good.
Yeah, so Tate Consul is a clinic meant for college officials, right? But once you're, say, year 4 and starting to consider doing some college officiating, if you are, that's absolutely the first clinic I'd recommend before making the leap to college. You'll go through some rules study in some classroom settings there. You'll also do some football on the field, high school football, but it's you'll practice officiating with NCAA rules, and that's easily hands down the first clinic I would recommend once you're ready to do some college clinics. I think there are some high school specific clinics around the country. They're just not in California. One, I'll have to see if I can find it and send it to you. I'll have to make some notes myself. A lot of stuff I'm promising here. I want to say there's one in Colorado, and then maybe one in. I know there used to be one in South Dakota. I'll see if that still exists as well. That were specifically high school. The one in South Dakota, I want to say happens around Father's Day, so if that's a challenge. But I know I looked into it and almost went a couple of years.
Cool. I'll
Yeah,
send
I
you
think
a little action items or notes thing.
Katie, if you would just send me a reminder, these are what you promised us, I would appreciate that, and then I'll follow up on it.
Yep.
The Tate Council, the guy that runs the junior college part of it goes to all those. So, and he runs the junior college in the Southern California area. So when he gets a good look at you and so forth, that would help you guys in your junior college just to get to the junior college level. Okay. So, all right.
Cool. All right. I think it's time to talk fouls.
All right. So I have a presentation that I was given in the SCIAC, which is the Division III conference here in Southern California, from our supervisor. I'm going to share my screen if I can. And now keep in mind, this is meant for college, but I think it still pertains to high school. Let me see if I can. Am I able to share my screen, Katie?
You should be able to.
Let me see if I can do it. 1 second. Share. Broadcast. Says I'm screen sharing. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, does it show painting the complete picture?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and actually I'm going to turn it this way. Is that better?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is put together to basically say, when we report our fouls to the referee, we're painting a picture, and there's a lot of information the referee needs, and so this is just sort of a recommended order, if you will, and a list of everything that's needed. So the very first thing we need when we're reporting a foul to the referee, but really before any of this, the first thing the referee needs is the results of the play, right? So when you come to the referee, before even diving in, and I recognize when I'm telling you guys all this, that this is way easier said than done, right? This is where the rule study, practicing the stuff comes in handy, because even today, I will tell you that I am guilty of you throw a flag, the adrenaline starts going, and then you're speeding through stuff, or you're anxious to get to the foul. But if you can slow yourself down or remember to give all the information, first thing you want to tell the referee, hey, the result of play, and it doesn't have to be a long, lengthy description, just the result of play was an incomplete pass. The result of play was a touchdown. The result of play was a gain or a run short of the line of gain, a run beyond the line of gain, right? So just short but useful information on what was the result of the play. From there, when we're given the actual reporting, the first thing we're going to give is the segment of the play. So did this play happen during the kick, during the pass, during the run, after the change of possession, right? That's a big one. So where in this play segment did the foul occur? And that's, as we know, important because of the 3-and-1 principle. We enforce fouls differently given what play type, right? So in high school, we just have running play and loose ball. Once you get to college, it's either a kick, a pass, or a running play. But so that's important if it's a pass play prior to the pass or during the pass versus after the completion during the run, right? Those two things matter. Same thing with like a kick play during the kick or during the return are different enforcement. So first thing we need, segments of the play, and that paints a picture for the referee as well. Then the foul, right? So what do we have? Holding, personal foul, block in the back, right? So where did it occur? What was the foul? And then we need a team. And this is where something I'm really focusing on. This is kind of the instruction we got from our supervisor a few years back, and I've been making it my goal to always use one of 8 specific languages. And if I'm still sharing my screen, here they are. Getting away from using colors. So instead of, on blue, on white, and getting away from using team names, instead of saying, hey, Mission Hills or, Chula Vista, saying instead offense or defense, kickers, receivers, fumbling team, recovering team, passing team, intercepting team, right? So, and sometimes we can use that language to make our reporting even more efficient, right? So if we tell the referee the results of the play is an interception, during the return, block in the back, intercepting team, that helps paint that picture, right? And or even to make it more efficient, block in the back, intercepting team now tells them we had an interception, right? So you can use those language, but I think that's something that I learned that I really liked. And so now when we practice our rules exams, we try and correct each other when we don't use one of those 8 descriptors. And then when I'm in the game, my goal is to always use one of those. So I think that's critical. And then after that, we need a number, right? We got to know what was the number of the player. And sometimes it's useful to have the position as well. Not for the reporting necessarily, but coach is going to ask, who was it? And if we don't have a number, maybe we can tell them, hey, it was your right guard, right? Something like that. So, and then we need a spot. So this little arrow here, that's the purpose of that graphic is we need a spot of the foul. So it's, at my flag, previous spots, depending on what the foul is. And then keep in mind when we have a spot that there's two coordinates, X and Y, of that spot, right? So there's a yard line, 25-yard line, and then there's a lateral position, right? On the hash, middle of the field, near hash, far hash, and then the two uprights, right? Everyone familiar with positions 1 through 5? Okay. Mm-hmm. So just remember when there is a spot foul, that we have to use that lateral position as well. So that's also important to make sure our flag is in the correct spot when we throw a foul. If we need to move it to make sure it's in the correct lateral position, we can do that. So if we're enforcing a spot foul, making sure we're going from the correct spot. And then lastly, this graphic here, with the official giving the touchdown signals, it's to remind us that we need the result of the play. I start with that because that's how I report. I like to get information up front because when I'm working referee, that's the order I like it in instead of the results of the play at the end. I want to know up front because I know nothing about what happened downfield. That's me personally. Maybe, I don't know, Dave, if you like it, have a different opinion there, or if anyone else in this call has heard others' opinions. Some officials may like the results of play at the end, but I just like it up front. But those are the critical piece of information. My broadcast has stopped.
Yeah.
I'll make a comment on it. If you have a great umpire, the great umpire will always tell you the results of the play before anybody
Yeah.
comes up. And I have one on my college crew, one on my high school crew, Andy Wilson. He always tells me, Dave, it's an incomplete pass before I even find out what's going on.
Yeah.
So
I concur. That's, I think I use that as part of my answer for my pet peeve. Not so much a pet peeve, but like things I love for my other officials. I love an umpire who will, like, you can't talk to me enough at umpire. Like, give me everything. So, yeah. David, is that the order you like it in? Do you like the results of play first?
yeah, and like I say, it's the umpire. If he tells me the results of the play, then I get the foul and all that stuff. But I just like the fact that right now, I think I talked about it in the second year class, in the last class. We just want the foul, what the referee wants to say, because the referee has a tendency of repeating everything you say.
Yep.
And
So,
so
yeah, so that was my next comment. Was exactly that. So the reason I bring up this presentation is say, this is how we should report a foul. The goal would be to report the foul so that the referee can parrot it, like make it really easy for referee just to under-repeat almost exactly verbatim what you just told me to the stadium, right? And so, like Dave said, and I'm definitely guilty of this as referee. If you say, I'm trying to think of an example of something we use or we shouldn't use because
we have. I am getting scolded for saying we have holding right now.
There you go. Yeah. Right. Or I was even thinking terms that like we hear on Sunday, like is for example, snap infraction. That's not the high school term, right? Illegal snap. Is that an example? So if you report to me, or am I wrong? A snap infraction, I'm already forgetting. I think it is. It's illegal snap in college. But so if I report to my referee, and I'm not doing this a back judge, but let's say I was working umpire, snap infraction number 64. He's going to report snap infraction number 64, and it should be illegal snap number 6, right? So that it's important to get the language correct and exact, and those terms of which team it is help with that. So, we don't
no
want
abbreviations, no
no
OPI,
right?
offensive pass interference.
Yeah.
Right.
So what I would say is in a pregame, especially if you're working with a new referee, someone you haven't worked with before, or haven't worked with in a while, ask them, hey, Dave, first time working with you, how do you like your fouls reported? Most referees aren't overly particular, but you'll find some are. My division 2 referee, he wants the order to be team, foul, number. Sorry, foul, team, number, in that order. So it's got to be holding, offense, 67. He doesn't want holding 67 offense because he's practices his reporting a certain way over and over every time. So he wants it foul, team, number. So ask referee if he has a specific way he wants that done. But then you still want to use those descriptive, terms as well, right? So I probably should have brought some plays we could go through and kind of practice the reporting, but to give you some of the more basics ones, I might come up to Dave and say, Dave, the results of play is a run short of the line of gain, holding, offense, number 64, previous spot. That would be an example of a how I'd like to give an announcement. Now I'm working on that, right? Getting calm and giving all that information. But that's ideally how you can say it, because then he can turn around and just say, holding, offense, number 64, 10 yards, 3 play second down. So giving out all the information the order the referee likes is something you can work on. Like I say, some referees aren't particular. They don't care if it's foul number foul, but some aren't.
So I'm doing foul reports with the right penalty names and such is helping me quite a bit. So I went to a game Friday and all I did was take all of the fouls, but going back and doing the report, then you see what the penalties actually are, the nature, and so that enforces that it's a legal snap. You know what it is.
Yeah. Yep. that's just another example of something you guys can do to speed up your development, right? If you're not working a game, going and watching a game, and when you're watching, in addition to doing things like charting fouls, which is awesome, officiate from the sideline. If you like shadow officiate, I can hear Marlo Fitzgerald in my ear right now. For those of you who don't know Marlo Fitzgerald, he's an umpire in the Big 12, San Diego guy, another mentor of mine. One thing he always says, no wasted snaps, no wasted snaps. So if he's on the sideline while someone else is getting the reps at umpire, he's behind him working the play just as though he was in there, getting his count, watching his initial responsibility at the snap, and officiating the play as though he was working. So no wasted snaps is something Marlo would tell you.
Yeah, I found that makes it easier too, because you're not working it, so the game is like slower as you're doing that. Me like identify that stuff a little bit quicker.
Right. And then what you can do is, make some notes, and you can always ask the officials on the field, hey, and they may or may not remember, but hey, the third quarter, around the 6-minute mark, there was this play. Do you recall this? That you ruled an incomplete pass. What did you see there? Was he bobbling the ball? And if you had like a rule in your head, and maybe it's different what was ruled on the field, and you can go back and figure out, what did they see that I didn't see, or sometimes maybe you had it right.
Yeah.
And it's important if you do the penalty stuff and shadow a crew, ask the crew chief to share the game film with you, or the clips, the cut-ups. They will help you what every crew chief is looking for. Anybody did shadows my crew, I send them my game clips. So
yeah.
So on the topic of fouls, as a back judge, a few of us are working back judge this year.
I might have to pause and help keep a baby from walking towards the balcony.
Okay, go see your
baby.
He's
going back inside. We're good. No, we're good.
You gotta make sure that. So I'm working a lot of back judge. I think a few of us are working back judge this year. From just an applying judgment perspective, like there's a lot of plays that I look at like as it's happening, and I'm like, I'm replaying it in my head. Was that enough? Like this last Friday, there was a lot of like deep balls where I didn't call PI on it, but I was like, it smelled like PI. Like it was very close, but it wasn't quite enough. How do you apply, like where's your line for stuff like that? Or how did you work on applying your judgment on plays like that?
Yeah, I'm still working on it, Katie, is the answer. It comes from snaps, right? There's no substitute. Like the more plays you can watch on film, the better. Like, so watch a lot of plays if you can find them that that fouls were called when it was, I know it's subjective, but when it was graded as a correct call, and just get a lot of looks at it. I would say start with the premise that you do want it to be clear and obvious, right? And so I would argue that if you're starting off by not throwing, and maybe getting some no calls where, hey, this was pass interference, we want it called in the future. If you're getting more of that, then we don't want this, and you threw, you're probably starting with the right, at the right spot, and then you fine tune from there.
Okay.
So do make your threshold big. You don't want to start with a low bar.
Yep.
But I think the term clear and obvious is a good one. It's kind of, we used to say make it big, right? But I think clear and obvious is a better, more descriptive term of what we want. So, just remind yourself things like contact itself is not a foul, right? Players are going to hand fight. They're going to be touching one another running down the field. It needs to be an obvious, restriction, an obvious attempt to impede the receiver or the defender's attempt to get to that ball. So some things that helped me early on, recognizing when there's the phrase I love is 4 hands to the ball. So when there is a lot of contact, but both players are playing the ball, you'll see 4 hands, reaching for the ball, if you will, right? And so sometimes some of the bigger collisions in the air, if you have those 4 hands to the ball, that's your clue that this contact is legal, right? These guys are both playing the ball, and so that helped me when things were like, "Ooh, was that?" Kind of telling yourself after every play, even the ones that you're not throwing on or not thinking about throwing on, just like narrating the play in your head. And that was, that receiver grabbed the jersey, but there's no restriction. That was 4 hands to the ball. I guess that kind of a practice of sort of narrating what happened on that play.
Mhm.
One thing Don Carey taught me that I'm still working on today that is helpful is also sort of officiating from the shoulders to the waist. And if you can kind of tell yourself at the end of every play, what did that defender do with his hands? Was he reaching for the ball? Was he contacting the opponent? Where was he contacting the opponent? And again, touching the opponent is not a foul, right? You can have his hand on his shoulder, a hand on his hip. He's got to do something with it. But that's the narration part is, okay, on that play, he had his hand on the receiver's hip, but didn't turn him. He had his hand on the receiver's shoulder, but there's no grabber restriction.
Yeah.
Just like the forehands to the ball, the other, there's clues, right? Like if you see a receiver go for a one-handed grab, I guess it happens more just naturally these days because of
They're
the
trying to
Odell
do it
Beckham
now.
effect, right? But if it looks and feels like that receiver probably didn't want to catch that one-handed, it might be a clue that did I miss something there, or maybe you catch it. But those are things to look for. Is what is the receiver doing? What is the defender doing with their hands? I guess is one thing I can say helped me. So the forehands to the ball, and then just the officiating from the shoulder to the waist is a good practice if you can.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I just went back and watched all of them. I got to watch them again to see. Like some of them I'm still.
Yeah, but start with a high bar. Make it like you want to get the ones who are like I have to throw this. This is there's no question. This is a foul, and then you work from there to get the ones that maybe you missed. But it's better to start from there than to just be slinging flags over the field and finding out defender made a great play and I flagged him for DPI. So
yep, no, that's definitely where I'm at. But
I will tell you. I'm saying all this as though it's easy. I've made mistakes both ways and I still make them, right? So I'm still working on it myself. But those are things that I think hopefully can help.
Yep, definitely. I like the forehands. That's a new one for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also something you can use as a description to the coach. It's not a language. It's clear, and you can just say, "Coach, I felt they were both playing the ball. I saw all four hands reaching for it," and that's something a coach can. All right, they can take that and use it, right? And they may not like it, but
yeah,
it's hard to argue.
Yeah.
What else? Did I cover fouls in the way you wanted it covered?
Yeah, no, I think that was
Did I do
good.
enough there? Or okay.
Yeah, we haven't really gone over how to report fouls or how people like it, so it was good. I think that was a good thing to cover.
Yeah, you want to make a referee happy, give clear reporting for sure.
Yeah, I once had a referee. I did the full everything that we just talked about, and he's like, "I don't need all that. Just tell me what the foul was." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
So there's an example. Like I say, some referees aren't particular, some are particular, and so while it's good to at least practice doing all that, if you get a referee who says, "All I want is a foul," okay, I don't know. I would want more than that, right? I want to know where am I enforcing this from, and I guess as long as the umpire knows that, we're good. But
yeah,
I would want a little more than blocking the back.
Yeah.
At the bare minimum, I need the team and a number. I got to make an announcement, right? I can't guess offense or defense. So, but yeah, at a bare minimum, right? Foul team number.
Yes. No, I like that. I like the practicing as well. I think that's helpful for us. And then we've done a lot on enforcement, especially we did a bunch of quizzes over the summer, and one of the things Coover had told me to focus on was enforcement. So we did quite a bit of that. But do you have recommendations on or tricks you use to remember what the enforcements are?
I don't know that I have tricks other than just a lot of rule study there. Maybe one tip, if you will, is recognizing the really easy ones and nailing those every time. So I think now with the new rules, even in high school, a lot of the time we're going to enforce in the previous spot. And so just recognizing, okay, if we have a play that ends behind the line of scrimmage or a foul behind the line of scrimmage, and not everyone, but most of the time, those are going to be previous spot, right? So recognizing those quickly and efficiently enforcing those makes it somewhat easier. Being intimately familiar with the 3-and-1 principle. And this is where the way the reporting comes in handy is we all need this information, not just the referee to enforce this foul. So if you can give that information over the microphone, we can all start piecing the puzzle together. So that's why you need the results of play as well, right? So, that segment becomes so important during the pass, during the kick. And so just, as you're on the field, this will come faster and faster, but putting all that together, starting with the information you need from results of the play, segment of the play, and then knowing that 3-1. So if we know it's during a pass, we know our basic spot is the previous spot. And that's the other thing, I guess, a tip is recognizing when you have a foul on the team not in possession, it's always basic spot, right? So that's going to speed things up. What that basic spot is then just depends on the type of play. So if you have a foul on the defense, we can probably speed things up a little bit, recognizing, okay, what was the play type? Pass, great, we're going from the previous spot. Run, where's the end of the run? Right. So recognizing the fouls on the defense, or I should say foul on the team not in possession, are a little easier because they're always basic spot.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care where that flag is.
What is the 3-1 principle? You've said that a couple times. I'm not familiar with that.
So in the high school rule book, it is in Rule 10.
Can I just interject? We don't have that rule anymore.
Oh.
We don't have the 3-1. We went to college, remember? Now we enforce it. So if a defense were to foul behind the line of scrimmage and the end of the run was behind the line of scrimmage, we're going to the previous spot. So we have a little table.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I just redid Rule 10 and ended up deleting it. Oh, look at that. Another official in the making.
That's right. There's Jack.
But yeah, we don't have the 3-1 in high school anymore.
I probably do need to go soon, but the 3-1 principle was there's basically three possible combinations of fouls. Either fouls by the team in possession, behind the spot of the foul, fouls by the team in possession, beyond the spot of the foul, fouls by the team not in possession, behind, and so all of them except one were enforced from the basic spot. It was just that one foul. So that was the 3-1 principle. Excuse me for. I think Rule 10 though has a good description of basic spots and when we enforce from the basic spot versus the spot of the foul, and that's the point here, that you need to recognize, be intimately familiar with the basic spot for play types, and knowing if it's during a kick, the basic spot is the previous spot. If it's during a pass, the basic spot is the previous spot. So recognizing those basic spots, and then that'll help you speed things along on the field for sure. Be very familiar with Rule 10. Like, spend a lot of time there. It's not an easy rule, but know that rule in and out.
Cool. Yeah, and it's the last one. So when you're going rule by rule, you gotta make sure you have energy when you get there.
Right. Guys, I probably do need to run. I apologize.
No, that's fine. We appreciate you taking this hour of your time. It's been great.
Yep.
It's my pleasure. I know I said at the top of the call, but I just want to reiterate, I'm so impressed that you guys are doing this every week and putting this all together. It's really cool. So congratulations to all of you. Keep up the good work. If I can help any of you out beyond this hour, you can find me in Arbiter. Katie's got my information. Do not hesitate to call, email. I'm always happy to talk football. I love it. So if you guys have questions and I can be a resource in the future, call me, email me. I mean that sincerely.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it,
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks,
Mark. My pleasure, guys. Keep up the great work. Hope I'll see you on the field soon.
Thank you.
Yes. Bye.
Yep.
Thanks, Mark.
Go Padres.
Go Blue.
Oh.
All right, we still have 30 minutes left if people are interested in sticking around. I don't know if we've got other topics you want to talk about, or if people have film they want to pull up. If people want to go watch a baseball game, I hear that's happening.
I'm here for whatever.
Katie, I just sent you a foul report. I updated it a little bit so that it does the math for you. Let me know what you think, and then we could share it with the group if you want. I just found it a little easier to use than the one on the website.
Let me just share it. We can all talk about
it.
Okay.
Yeah, I could walk it.
Who's got a good one? Bob Hood has one that he prints out and brings to every game. We could probably ask him to share his.
Yeah. So this is just some of the stuff. The fouls are on the right there, and the stuff that's grayed out is just the math, and all of the other things is really the report on the left side. You
Mhm.
fill in all the yellow stuff, and of course the table, and you'll see that if you scroll way down, it'll do the math and tell you how many home team admin files, the same thing as the that's on the
Oh yeah,
website. You have to do the math there.
got it.
And this just calculates it for you. Anyway,
This looks good. The only thing I would say is if you sent this to Bezerkov, he would send it back and tell you to replace home and visitor with the team names.
oh, and that's easy to do too. Yeah.
Well, even
Yeah,
if
he
this, so you
doesn't.
could probably
Yeah,
control it
because
with the.
he doesn't want offense, defense, kick return. He doesn't want home and visitor. He just wants the team names. Is all he wants. He doesn't care about anything else.
Yeah, let's
Interesting. Yeah.
find the one.
Anyway, that's on those terms were on the website version. So that's why I used it.
Yeah, I only know because I did a foul report when the back judge that I was with didn't do one. And then Bezerkov shot it back to me and told me to get rid of all that and just put the team name. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
I do mine, and I send him this. So I seriously doubt he'll call me and tell me to redo it.
Let me show you. I've got one too that Finney uses. That yeah, Anthony Finney uses, and he gave it to me because I was on his crew. So I've just been using it to fill it out. So these are all the back judge games I've worked. So we just have the the two teams that are playing, and then home versus visitor. And you just go through and mark how many of each type of foul, and then it calculates that at the bottom. And then what Finney had me do was just like get the picture basically. Well, zoom out of this so you can get the whole thing, and then I just screen capture that and send it to Bez, and he's yet to send it back to me. Maybe he's scared of me. I don't know. But no, but that's so I think there's a variety of them.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
how many fouls did you have in that first game?
You don't even want to know.
Good Lord. My record. Well,
18.
oh geez.
So I had 18 the first game, 7 the second game, 19, 7, and 10.
I shouldn't complain. I was part of a 30 foul game a couple weeks ago.
Oh
So
God. As a back judge,
yeah,
that would murder. I would be murdering my crew.
yeah.
So
I think I threw 4. So
Katie, if you would send me that just so we know which ones are admin, because I don't have that breakout.
Yeah, you know what I'll do? I'll create a copy of this and then post it as
Mhm.
a resource for all
Okay,
of
great.
us. Yeah.
This is on the Excel.
It's
Maybe or
yeah, but it's like
Google
it's like a
Sheets.
Google
So
sheet. So I'll just make a copy of this and
oh
then
Google. Oh yeah, yeah.
It's on
but
Google Share. Yeah.
yeah, it does all
And
of
you
the
said and it calculates.
yeah. So as you fill it out, it just the
Okay.
bottom number, the totals for each section get calculated, and then So
It's
I'm
funny for the sake of conversation, and I'll never make the mistake again. An illegal block in the back, and I know it's a 10-yard penalty, but yesterday the umpire was about to march off an illegal block in the back, and he held up 2 fingers, and I said, "Isn't it 3?" And he said, "Yes, you're right." And we marched off 15
Ooh.
yards. And I mean, nobody said anything. Referee didn't. I mean, we marched off 15 yards, but now just thinking about it right now, I'm like, huh. We marched off 3 yesterday. We should have marched off 2. Never make that mistake again. It's funny.
yeah.
Yeah. That's why it's good to do the foul reports because it
Mhm.
reinforces all of that.
Yeah. I kind of think about it. Dave, you had something, I asked you this question the other day, like how to remember between 10 and 15, and you had a good saying, like if you use your hands, it's
And
10.
if you use your hands, it's 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so illegal blocks in the backs, the holding, all that stuff is going to be 10-yard penalties. Then anything intent to injure or non-football acts are all 15.
Mhm.
And then the only thing out of it is the pass interference OPI. And once again, those are 15. And then all the little ones, like the illegal forward passes, or we call them illegal forward passes. They all fall into the category of illegal forward passes, are usually all 5 yard penalties.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, basically pretty simple. But the whole, you talk about that, Jeff. The whole crew is responsible for penalty enforcement. So the fact that so all 5 of us got it wrong. If it's assuming it's a 5-man game, just like in junior college, I declined a penalty last night, and we got it wrong. It was a foul on the kicking team. We should have gone 5, added it to the end of the run. But foul enforcement is important, that everybody's on top of it. Remember, we have 3 guys walking off the penalty, right? The back judge should also confirm that it's a 10-yard penalty. So the back judge should be able to sit there and go, we did march off 10. And then that should ring a bell in somebody's head. So, but we should all be responsible for it. Unfortunately for me as a referee, I do college, so it's different in college, some of the penalties. So like some of the forward passes just go back to this previous spot, or goes back to the previous spot, and there is no yardage walked off, and the down counts. And then our intentional grounding is just a spot foul. There's no yardage on it, and the down counts. So it's important for you guys to all be involved in penalty enforcement. Steve looks for that. So if he sees the 3 of you miss it, and the referee and the umpire or the back judge doesn't pick it up, he pretty much says it's a crew failure. So
yeah,
and it's going to happen.
Yeah, it looked interesting because illegal block in the back was 10 yards, but it's considered a safety, which normally would be 15, wouldn't it?
Well, no, see, blocking the backs are different fouls. So
right,
you're gonna if you get a little push in the back, you're gonna lay off of it, unless it's some type of an advantage. So if it poses an advantage to the play, then you're gonna call it. But if some guy just bowls them in the back, then we got to block in the back, and that's a safety foul. So you'll see a run where he gets this little shove, but it's no advantage to that little shove. Then in your judgment, you can lay off that call. But if the guy just comes in there and cleans him in the back, we got to block in the back 10 yards.
Yeah, you're talking about penalty enforcement. Last night, the San Diego State game, I was going to ask Muhammad if he noticed this, but he dropped off. They were marching off a 10-yard penalty, and the center judge marched off. Like I'm on chain crew, I was counting, but they were marching off, and the center judge marched off like, I don't know, it wasn't 15 and it wasn't 10. It was somewhere in the middle of that. But both of the flanks that were, the guy on our side walked off, and he stopped at 10, and the other guy stopped at 10. And so the center judge stopped and he looked up and he saw he was off, and he's like, oh, okay. And there was a little communication, but that was a great example of the flanks doing their job of saying like, no, I walked 10, this is 10, this is it. And they were right. Like as I was counting it off, they had the right spot.
So Dave, I got it. So legal block, one could be minor, let it go. Another one could be illegal block in the back, advantage, 10 yards. And another one could be blowing somebody up. Could you call unnecessary roughness?
Well, if it's not around the play, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if it was away from the play, then absolutely.
Okay.
You could call it personal foul because it's away from the play. So, and just to piggyback what Katie said, in the NFL, the chain crew was our guys when they were in San Diego, the Chargers, and they actually did march off the penalty wrong. And not only did they did it wrong, they didn't recognize it. The chain crew recognized it. And the head linesman sat there and said, oh, crap, you're right. He went to the referee and they corrected it. And the head linesman did not take any credit for it. He sat there and said, don't talk to me. go talk to the chain crew. They're the ones that corrected it. And apparently the referee at halftime went over there and shook all the chain crew's hand for helping them get the call right. So, the penalty stuff is kind of different. Mark did talk about the 3-and-1. That principle was basically, so if we had a holding behind the line of scrimmage by the offense, if that was a spot foul back in the day. So they could accept the penalty and we would walk it off. So the holding was 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage or behind the previous spot. We would go from the spot of the foul 10 yards and march off another 10 yards, and it would be replay the down. It would be 1st and 30. Now and today it's going to be go back to the previous spot, so they either be 1st and 20 or they can decline the penalty. And we would decline the penalty, by the way, if it was 10 yards back. But Gary ought to know that. We would decline them and say, you don't want this penalty. You're going to take it down. So, but that's where the referee used a lot of discretion back in those days. It's a lot easier today because of the previous spot now.
All right. Any other questions or clips that people want to watch?
Yeah.
I
don't have any clips.
I'll pull one up for my game. And then let's see. Just gonna get it all set up first. You guys don't have to watch me do all that.
Well, you guys have any questions on your games? Anything you'd like to just air out while Katie's getting this thing ready?
Dave, I have one thing that came up. I don't think it's anything crazy. It was just the fact that it happened, though. It just seemed like an anomaly to me. And up front, my question was, would have been better if I would have waited to throw a flag? And I could kind of go argue either way. But here's what happened is both the receiver was going out, the safety picked him up. As the offensive player was about to catch the ball, he pushed off of the receiver, definitely clear offensive pass interference. And then he jumps to catch the ball. Right when he caught the ball was when I had released my flag for offensive pass interference. But then he came down and he kind of bobbled the ball, and then it was an incomplete pass at that point. But the flag was already thrown, so we've got offensive pass interference. But would it have been better to even wait to see if he would have clearly caught the ball, or no matter what, we have offensive pass interference?
I would have waited to see what the results of the play was.
Okay.
It does not have to be an early flag. It can be a late flag. So you want to process it until the very end. And then if he gains an advantage, then we go ahead and throw. If he doesn't gain an advantage, we have no foul. In my opinion, I would have never thrown on that.
You would have waited to see if he would have clearly caught the ball first?
Yep.
Okay.
And you'll hear different opinions. So other people will say you got to call it. But for me, I wait till the play ends. And then if I want to call it, then I go. But if it's the same player and he's been doing it the whole game, then yeah, I would call it.
Yeah, fair enough. And obviously I threw in the white hat basically. He was like, hey, you threw the flag. We have to enforce the offensive pass interference, even though we have an incomplete pass. So that was the result of what we did, which I went over and told the coach and he was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Nobody's going to say anything, but yeah, you want to make sure they gain an advantage. That's a thing in high school, and as you move up, that is definitely a foul. But in high school, we don't treat it as a foul.
From a joking perspective, the white hat was like, Jeff, you go tell the white hat. I'm not telling him. No. Or you go tell the coach. I'm not telling him. But anyway, the coach just said, yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah. Sometimes I just go, really? When the umpire tells me it's an incomplete pass and they go OPI, I'm like, really? And they kind of look at me and say, I should have waited. Yes.
Is part of that too, Dave, keeping the pace of the game? Because it's like there was no advantage gained. Now you have to stop the game, mark off the penalty, go.
So you get a lot of it in holding.
Mhm.
Because they're happening during runs and they gain a yard. I always tell my crew, if it's a play up the middle and they only gain a yard, we have no holding. I could care less if it's a takedown or anything like that. We're not stopping the game to decide to go up to a head coach who's probably got an offensive coordinator who wants to make the final decision whether to accept or decline the penalty. I just tell them they don't get an advantage by 1 yard gain. Um, so, but it's got to be, yeah. The holding is where you got to wait to see, and that's why you see a lot of those late flags when that runner turns the corner. Then you see the flag come out. You know full well when the holding happened. And Steve puts out some good ones where he sits there. You got the indicator, you got the grab.
Yeah.
Now, but if he lets go and he makes a tackle, we got nothing.
Mhm.
So. And then you talk to the kid. Hey, man, watch your hands. Always talk to the kid. Wash your hands. And they'll know that you saw it.
Yeah. All right, let's look at this pass interference. There's definitely a taunting on this play that I missed, so I'm just going to go out there. You'll see it. I've already recognized I missed that play, but we'll watch it. I think I've got to get it in slow-mo to make it so you guys don't see it so choppy. We'll slow motion it. So I didn't have anything on this, but as I'm watching it back, I see the grab of the jersey, and that's what makes me like, because here he's looking, and right there, and he makes the athletic play. So in the game, I'm on the end line. I didn't see the grab of the jersey. I just saw him put his arm out and then make a play. So, open to comments.
So this is,
And then I'll play it so you can see the taunting. There's the taunting I should have.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah, should have
taunting.
flagged that. I'm gonna say bad on me.
so I saw something similar to this last season where the play was going down the sideline. The defender in that play had his hand inside the front of the pads and pulled back, and the only person who saw it was the umpire. And the umpire threw on it, and then both the flank and the back judge called him off on it. I was on the chain crew, and I was in the middle of writing down defensive pass interference, doing the fouls, and then had to cancel it out because they waved it off. Given, I don't know if the umpire would have seen that because he pivoted a little bit too late to see it. But had he seen it, turned around and seen it, is it okay in that situation to throw on that? Because I've heard a lot of, umpires don't throw defensive pass interference.
Umpires do not throw defensive pass interference.
Right.
Okay, period. And if so, the crew did a great job in picking up the flag.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would pick it up too. If an umpire told me he had DPI, I would tell him, no, you don't. And I've done it.
Yeah, Katie, it looks
Yeah.
like the headlinesman really can't see this jersey tug either. It looks like he's blinded
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
If I was going to say, if you apply Mark's four hands principle to it, that might bring in another because
Yeah, you only got three hands going to it because you got the
yeah, I mean, because certainly the defensive player he had one hand on the ball, but then the other hand, it looks like he could have been restricting another hand from coming up on the side of the receiver.
I mean, it's also possible that you were screened out by number 5 there at the end where the action hit too, depending on how far back you were.
Yeah.
He could have just lined up with that perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like mostly I saw the contact, but it looked like, I mean, there's contact the whole play, right? So you see them kind of hand fight.
He has his hand on him, right?
Yeah, I just didn't
Right
see that
there.
restriction right there at the end.
So
Mhm.
what do we
And
actually
he-
see on this play? No. Hold on a second. What do we actually see on this play? I'm gonna throw in my honest opinion.
Mhm.
This
So-
is just a great defensive play.
Yeah, he's looking back.
The guy is in a better position to catch the ball than the offensive player is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's in a better position. There's no way the offensive player would have caught this ball.
Even,
because
yeah, which I agree with, which is part of my decision making. But that pool right there was when I was watching it back, which made me think about it right there.
yeah, he never would have called. The defensive player was in a better position for this.
Yeah.
So in my mind, this is a good no call.
Until we get here, and then I
But
should have called it. Then I should have called
yeah,
it. I don't know what
but
I
that
was.
Yeah.
the head linesman should have gotten it too.
Yeah.
So we should have 2 flags on this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, that was my one fun play.
So this is where, Jeff, you would process this play. You would process it, and then you would sit there and go, okay, was that grab big enough?
Mm-hmm.
How did the defensive player react to this? Could the offensive player caught the ball? And if you sit there and say all that while you're processing, then you can throw. Okay, the offensive never had a opportunity to catch this ball. Then you would throw. Then you sit there and go, well, the defensive player was in better position, was able to, he deflected the ball. And sometimes you just got to give the defender credit. You're going to see a lot of these, especially as you move up to the Granite Hills, Carlsbad type games.
Mm-hmm.
This is done on almost every play on a pass play. You're going to see all this. I mean, as a back judge, this is an all-day thing with some of these schools, Lincoln and Cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those guys are hands-on the whole game.
Yeah.
So the back judge and the flanks have a tough job when we get those type of games.
Yeah.
So,
and I will say the flank and I, like, we looked at each other. Like, I definitely looked at him to see if he was calling anything, and then you can these clips kill me. But okay. So, I think maybe this isn't the one. There's one where there's like a timeout, and you see us come together and talk about it.
Yeah.
Might not be it, but anyway, there was definitely was trying to see if the flank had anything.
yeah, and just remember the grabs not always.
It's not always.
I mean, that's just an indicator. That's just an indicator. You want to look at the whole play. The whole play is that the defender was in a better position.
Yeah.
And you're going to find collisions. We didn't call pass interference one time and we sat there and Steve looked at it and I looked at it and I'm like, the defender just made a better play on the ball than the receiver did. Mm-hmm. And there was a collision. He got knocked down and all that kind of stuff. But it was one guy wanted the ball and the other guy made no effort to go to get the ball.
Yeah.
And you just got to give the defender that boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
That makes sense what you're saying, Dave. And Katie, that's a great clip to share.
Yeah, no, it's a great clip. And by the way, I don't know what year the head linesman is, but I'll be honest with you, in your young careers, you are going to miss that taunting because you're more focused on what you just saw on the pass interference.
I was definitely replaying the play in my head and I was moving in. So yeah, he's a third year. So
So when you're younger, you're going to miss that. Yeah. And you always hope that the umpire sees that and throws.
Well, he's a second.
That would be the umpire to throw on that. Would throw on the taunt. Yeah. Because he should not be judging pass interference. He should be judging the action around.
All right. Any other plays people want to watch? Or clips people? I can show you a fight that I almost got into as well.
You almost got in one.
You almost got in a fight.
Well, not
Dang,
me.
Katie, you gotta relax.
I was trying to break it up. Let's see. Just a few clips. Friendly fire. Let's see. I don't know if you guys can, if it's breaking up or not. Here's where the fun starts. So there's back and forth. Then comes me sprinting.
Where's the referee?
He's coming.
Come on, Mike, get in there. The umpire's got to get in there. See, this is a late reaction.
There goes my hat.
Oh.
trying to get in between players, and there's Westlow coming in.
Yeah, you can't be a good official if you don't get your hat knocked off at least once.
I thought it was at least a player who knocked it off, but you see my my head linesman. I think he's trying to pull me out, and there's no stopping me in there. So yeah.
Yeah, see, we got to get in there sooner on these plays. This is why the head linesman should get off his spot, get involved. The umpire should have ran in there and gotten involved. Referees are usually a little slower and a little older, so they're going to be a little slower. And I would probably be a little late as well to the party. But right here, when you saw that push, the head linesman should have gone over there and dragged the green player out. And the umpire should have gone in there as soon as he saw that push, drag the green player out. So they should be dragging 4 out. The umpire should be getting 4 out of there, like he's doing now right now.
Should have just been earlier.
Yeah, he should have been done earlier.
Great hustle, though, Katie. Great hustle.
Yeah.
I felt like I had run like 7 miles.
The stairs.
And all the stairs paid off. But yeah, that was
The
nice.
stairs, man.
And I will say, right after this play, Green came off, got on the field and said, "Oh, we know what kind of game it's going to be." And I just told him, "No, like that's not." I said, "You guys can be leaders, or you can choose to be leaders in this moment. Don't do that." And we had a clean game, so it's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all those are the 2 most interesting plays from this game.
I've got one actually that I just found. Let me see if I can share my screen because I'm actually kind of proud of myself for this one. Do I share my screen on the start video? Nope, I don't have a camera. Where's share screen?
Oh, I might have to make you a host. Hold on.
So Dave, when you hear coaches egging their players on, a coach didn't like something and he's egging, so you need to go out there, do something that's not right. What do you say to that? Do you do anything?
I'll answer that in a second. Go ahead, Brady.
All right, let me see if I can do this without it. I don't know how choppy this is going to be because it's Windows Media Player. All right, so this is Rock Academy, and whoever they were playing. I don't remember now. I'm under the goalpost. It's a PAT, and we have a false start flag that I successfully changed, which you're not going to see because they stopped the recording. But I'll run it at full speed. I don't know how choppy this looks. And the false start was right here. You see me run up. Yeah, you see me run up because it was a dead ball foul. The head linesman stops the play. But if you watch this guy right here, I saw it. And I successfully got it changed to a disconcerting act. The white hat runs over to the head linesman. I had somebody hold the ball. I ran over right after, and it was my first disconcerting act. I've never actually seen that in a game before. But
it's a good pickup.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I got that right. It's something I'd never seen before, and I just wanted to share it, in case one of you guys had never seen it before.
That's a good catch.
Yeah, no, good. I saw it a few weeks ago in a Pop Warner game. They were basically like making some noise to try and like throw the snap count off. But the referee shut it down fast.
Yeah, and I think the white hat also saw it just like out of the corner of his eye, because he met eyes with me and he said, "Did you see that as well?" And yeah, that's a disconcerting act. So, and the head coach for the defensive team was livid. Because the head linesman was signaling false start, and then we marched the other direction.
Well, the head linesman has to get this.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately that's really not your call either.
Right.
Right. What is your
definitely
call?
not. Yeah. I'm looking for action on the center, on the snapper,
right.
And I just happened to see it. So
yeah. So that's not your call. The head linesman has to see this.
Yeah.
He's got to pick it up. You can't, because see, if this guy takes a shot at your center and you don't see that,
Yeah.
that's worse than this guy missing the disconcerting act.
So Dave,
you need to be careful when you try to do too much on your responsibilities.
yeah, that's what I was going to use.
Go ahead. Okay, Bob, do you answer your question? Are we good on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just make sure when we're officiating the game, make sure of your initial responsibilities, your responsibilities first. The only time we should be fishing out of our pond is for personal fouls or unsportsmanlike acts. Okay. We can flag those from anywhere on the field that we see. But other than that, all these other technical false starts and so forth, we don't have back judges calling false starts, and it's happened. So, and the referee, as I'm a referee, I would waive it off. So just consider making sure you take care of your own responsibilities, the initial responsibilities. After that, you go to zone. Okay. Bob, as far as your coach is concerned, I would tell the referee and have him take care of it. If I was the referee or the crew chief on that side, I would have flagged him. And then I would issue a sideline warning. And I think we had that happen to us in our college game. He said something pretty rude to our head linesman. And he came up to me, or my side judge, and he came up to me and told me what happened. And I sat there and said, let's just change it to a sideline warning to see what happens. And he didn't have an issue for the rest of the game. So we do a sideline warning as a freebie. Nobody needs to know why the sideline warning is coming out. You have a referee just say, hey, come on, these are kids. We don't want to do any harm to the kids. And 9 times out of 10, it'll calm them down and just say, okay, you're right. And sometimes the sideline warning it's better than an unsportsmanlike conduct. In some cases.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's going to work 100%, but I say the 2 or 3 times I've done it, the sideline warning was always good enough.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that because going to the referee is a good idea. Instead, I mean, I'm a line judge overhearing it, and he's not talking to me. He's talking to his players. I didn't like this. I want you. And I wanted to say, Coach, let's play football. But I think I like your approach much better. Go to the referee, tell him what I heard, and let him handle it.
Right. And the experienced guys will take care of it. They won't go to the referee. They'll just take care of it on their own. So I would have taken care of it on my own.
Okay.
And, but I think as you gain more experience, you'll know that you'll do it on your own without the referee's help.
And on that day, we're handling it on our own. Are we just turning around like Bob said and saying, hey, coach, let's play football? Or are we throwing the sideline warning and then having the
I would say just talk to him and say, hey, I'm just play football and so forth. And then if he makes another smart ass comment, then I would go ahead and throw the flag. Yeah. So I would throw the flag and then let the referee know and just say, hey, look, if we have any more problems, I have to report this to the CIF.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? That freaking will shut them up.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is actually Pop Warner. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No, I hear more of that in Pop Warner than on the high school.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I had a game yesterday and I had to go to the referee. One of the coaches came up to me and said the kids are using derogatory words, using the N word on the kids, and he took care of that real quick.
Yeah. You're gonna hear a lot of that stuff. It's it's unfortunate, but they're trying to cut it out in college. Believe it or not, they can't even say the F word in college. Any word is subject to disqualification in college now.
I hear it more in Pop Warner. To the kids, it's not to me. And I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I just don't understand why
it's in their vocabulary now.
Yeah, and the parents put up with that. I don't understand why.
Well, that's where they learn it from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No,
All
it's
those
the,
coaches,
it's
all those
the
coaches are
coaches
parents.
that are using the, I mean, 9-year-olds.
F word? If the coach
Yes.
is using an F word, it's an automatic 15.
Okay.
It's automatic.
Okay. That's good to know.
It's automatic.
Yep.
And then alert the board. This guy's saying the F word to 90-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, don't put up with that stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate you coming.
Hold up. I need to add something. No, I mean, just wanted to remind you guys, tomorrow we have those Zoom meetings, right?
Oh,
There's
Week of the Ref.
it's tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Yes, week of the ref. I was looking into them. I don't know anything about it. Dave, have you seen anything like this before?
No,
Have you
I've
guys
never
ever done
seen it.
anything?
Never seen anything like this before.
Okay. Well, it's certainly looking like it's going to be a great resource, and I highly recommend everyone that's in this meeting to attend tomorrow as well. I think they sent us out a schedule with 6 of them. I think there's
six, yeah.
I think it's a 6 p.m. one, a 7 p.m. one. I didn't really
It's 6
memorize the
and then
schedule.
7:30 each day.
Okay.
So tomorrow is the 6 o'clock one is referee, the 7:30 one is line of scrimmage.
Got it.
Tuesday, the 6 is the deep officials, like the blanks, and then the 7:30 is back judge. On Wednesday, the 6 o'clock is umpire, and then the 7:30 is the keynote. So I also registered for all of them. And
Yeah, I've got a game tomorrow night, actually.
Oh,
yeah, if you got games, that's a bummer. But yeah, if you have games, that's a great resource. Call out Mohammed. All right. Now I'm gonna thank all you guys for showing up, because without you guys showing up, this is just me having a conversation with Dave and everybody else. So, which I take, but I appreciate all of you guys showing up, putting in the work.
Thank you.
Yep. We thank you too. Thank everybody.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.